George Kambosos says he knows what he needs to do to beat Devin Haney in the rematch. We're going to talk about that in this video. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you come in, smash the like button. Let's get it. Quote, Kambosos says, I know what I've got to do to beat him in a rematch. This is something that George Kambosos said in this post-fight interview. We had the game plan, but we couldn't implement it the way we wanted to. But I know what I've got to do to beat him in a rematch. Now, this just sounds crazy for George Kambosos to be saying that he knows what to do to beat him at a post-fight press conference. I mean, look at this realistically and logically. If you went out there before your home crowd, 50,000 people, they said were in attendance in Australia, so the crowd egging and rooting you on, and you got mopped, like you got beat, not in a competitive fight, you lost by a landslide. You lost one-sided. So how can one then say 30 minutes later after they, meet with the doctors and do their medicals and whatnot, post-fight at the press conference, that you know what it takes to beat him, yet you had no success for really 12 rounds. I mean, even guys like Jeff Horn, he said he was rooting and pulling for George Kambosos, a guy he's known since the amateurs. He was pulling for him to win, but he said Devin had his number and made it look easy and dominant. And he if you look at the interviews with Jeff Horn, he basically seemed skeptical. He's like, yeah, I guess he got to take the rematch. But if you look at the look on his face, Jeff Horn looked like, what's the point? There's really not going to be any difference in the rematch. So please let me know in the comment section how a man can say he has what it takes to beat the person when they get dominated and outboxed for 12 rounds. And you got to understand, sometimes in terms of losses, it could be more demoralizing to get outboxed and lose in such a fashion like Canelo Bivol or George Kambosos versus Devin Haney or Floyd Mayweather versus, Robert Guerrero or whoever, right? Because here's why. In the sport of boxing and in human nature, we'll start there. I think it's human nature and it's tough because a lot of people don't want to keep it real with themselves. See, I've never had this problem personally. I always have the ability to self-assess and give that self-reflection and give myself those honest conversations. Like, I don't know what it is. I rely a lot on intuition and animal instinct and, habit, creature of habit, order of operations. My dad was in the military, things like that. So I know when I'm effing up. I could just feel it. Like, it's just like, oh, okay, I've been eating out too much, or I haven't been waking up and doing my work, or, whatever the situation is. If I have a slump and fall off, I can immediately assess that and be realistic. However, this level of honesty, I would honestly say it's more of a rarity, and not everyone can be forthcoming and real with themselves. So in getting knocked out, it becomes easier to rationalize, because there's been fights where guys like Michael Moore, George Foreman is one of the greatest examples of this, where you have like a 40-year-old George Foreman and Michael Moore is outboxing him, and then Foreman got cracks and he just hit him with a shot and then he couldn't recover. So from the human nature perspective, it becomes easier to rationalize a loss when you just get knocked out, because you're like, hey, I was in the fight, especially if the fight was competitive, and then he caught me with a good shot. You know what I'm saying? So Gervonta Davis versus Rolly, in Rolly's mind, I'm not saying it's easy. A loss is a loss. It's not easy all the time to come back from a loss. But if it's like a one-shot deal like Rolly, you can bounce back from it. You've seen Manny Pacquiao bounce back from it, because you could just say, hey, I wasn't doing bad, and then I just got blitzed with the shot, and, he has blistering power, and he's a bruiser. So, that's what happened. But for George Kambosos, that wasn't the case. You were in front of your home stadium, you kept talking, and you said you missed weight because it was the art of war, deception, and, you were going to teach him a lesson, and none of this stuff came into the fold. None of this stuff manifested. and then 30 minutes after your fight at the post-fight press conference, you're saying you know what it takes to beat the guy that just beat you and made it look easy. And usually what I've seen more often than not in boxing historically is the technician. You don't give a technician or a tactician 2 cracks at something and expect a different result. And I don't think George Kambosos is a Wilder, is a Gervonta Davis, or even like a David Benavidez, Jaron Ennis, or anybody like that in terms of the power department. So it becomes worse for you because you don't have one punch, get you out of there type of power. So I just really don't see what the point is for the rematch. And that's just being real with you. Let me know how I did in this video. Kambosos, he said art of war, deception is why he missed weight. And now he's carrying on, and it doesn't sound like he's being realistic. He's saying he knows what it takes to beat him. Then why did you lose every round if you all of a sudden know you couldn't think on the job, and think on the job and figure this stuff out on the fly, but then you go to your locker room for 15 minutes, do your medicals, and now you have all the answers? Doesn't really sound realistic or clear thinking to me. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. Subscribe. I am the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. And I'm out. The future is now. The Hibernation 5s by Kenichi Bear. Hybrid gaming and lifestyle headphones. Out of the box, you can connect to any console or PC. Bluetooth ready with a low latency USB adapter, color RGB, and extreme bass mode. The Hibernation 5s adjust to you. Whether you need a gaming, travel, gym, or lifestyle headphones, the Hibernations got you covered. The new Hibernation 5s, link in the description. Customize the way you hear the world. Welcome to the nation.